जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा। Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtotra Sata Shri Srimad Divine Grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We'll do the prayers and the Mangala Charan together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Continue with our reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Samam Bonam. And this is chapter 14, Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. We are on text 8. Wow, rarity. Less anxiety, more than ecstasy. We'll start with the verse. Tatte nukampam sushamikshamano bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam hridvagvapurbhir vidadhan namaste जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सधाय भाक् तत्तेऽनुकम्पां सुशमीक्षमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकम् हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधन् नमस्ते जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सधाय भाक् तत्तेऽनुकम्पां सुशमीक्षमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकम् हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधन् नमस्ते जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सधाय भाक् तत्तेऽनुकम्पां सुशमीक्षमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकम् हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधान् नमस्ते जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सधाय भाक् तत्तेऽनुकम्पां सुशमीक्षमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकम् हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधान् नमस्ते जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सधाय भाक् तत्तेऽनुकम्पां सुशमीक्षमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकम् हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधान् नमस्ते जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सधाय भाक् तत्तेऽनुकम्पां सुशमीक्षमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकम् हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधान् नमस्ते जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सधाय भाक्. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Actually, this is the disciples of the A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Right? I think from this chapter. I think it's from Prabhupada's last one was chapter 13. Okay? All glories to His disciples. This is the word for word. Tat. Therefore. Te. Your. Anukampam. Compassion. Sushamikshamana. Earnestly hoping for. Bhunjana. Enduring. Eva. Certainly. Atmakritam. Done by himself. Vipakam. The fruitive results. Hrit. With his heart. Vak. Words. Vapurbhi and body. Vidadhan offering. Namaha, obeisances. Te, unto you. Jiveta, lives. Yaha, anyone who. Muktipade, to the position of liberation. Saha, he. Dhayabhak, the rightful heir. Translation. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your costless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. The word Sushamikshamana indicates that the devotee earnestly awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. Which verse is this? Yeah, the famous verse, Sarva Dharman Parityaja. Says, do not fear about your previous sinful activities, right? However, because in his mind, a devotee may still maintain the remnants of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord. And therefore, the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. Although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world. The Lord therefore creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It is rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. A sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. Therefore, he willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respects and obeisances to the Lord with his heart, words, and body. Such a bona fide servant of the Lord, considering all hardship a small price to pay for gaining the personal association of the Lord, certainly becomes a legitimate son of God. As indicated here by the words Dhayabhak, just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the Supreme Pure Lord Krishna without undergoing a rigid purificatory process, which may appear like suffering, but which is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord. This one is a very famous verse. Actually, I think Prabhupada quotes it 100 times or something like that. This verse, Tattenu Kampam. And the context in which this is spoken, these are the prayers of Lord Brahma after he had committed something grave. Right? This was not expected of him at all. Krishna was actually very upset with Lord Brahma because he has stolen his cowherd friends and cows for one whole year. And we can think of this prayers from Brahma's perspective on why he is saying this. That, oh Krishna, I've done something incredibly wrong. He is realizing that I'm very sorry for what I've done, but what to do? I have to undergo the reactions of what I've done. There is no way that I can escape that. But it is of my own doing, Atmakrita. Right? Bunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. That these fruitive results that are going to come to me are not because you're giving to me. It's because of my own doing. This is why I'm going to suffer. I accept it. But I'm going to, even during that time, try to serve you with my mind, body, heart, words and body. And if I am able to do that, Krishna, then I'll be the rightful heir of the spiritual kingdom, is what Brahma is saying in this, Lord Brahma is saying in this prayer. But I would like to start with something in the middle of the purport that gives the entire idea of this creation and karma in general, right? And then we can see how a devotee takes this. But this line that says, the purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord. This is why we have this material world in the first place. That all of us want to enjoy separate from Krishna, and therefore Krishna says, okay, you can go and try. But then he doesn't just give us a place where we can get ruined. This is the wonderful, merciful nature of Krishna. Is that although giving us a place to enjoy separate from him, he has certain mechanics here that will try to rectify us. This is the purpose of karma. And therefore the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. The reason why this mentality is created is it's actually a very vicious cycle. This entire karmic cycle is it's kuta, bija, aprarabdha and prarabdha. This is the cycle that Rupa Goswami says in his Nectar of Devotion of karmic activity. And the very reason for why we act in this world for fruitive results is because of our ignorance. This is what he says creates such an activity. This avidya. Avidya of what? Avidya of the sambandha gyan, who we are, what is our relationship with the Lord, what is our relationship with this world. So many ways in which we are ignorant of our position and our duty to perform in this world, that we act in ways that are not conducive for us, for our own well-being. So when we act in such a way, what happens is this seeds of such actions, reaction starts getting piled up. This is called sanchita karma, or karma that has still not fructified, so to speak. That when I'm performing an action, I'm going to get a reaction. And every moment I'm producing a reaction because every moment I'm acting. And Krishna says that in the Gita, it's impossible to not act in this world. This is one of Arjuna's questions, right? Because he says, action is what is creating reaction, and therefore, if I can stop acting, I will not create any more reactions. But Krishna says it's impossible for us to stop acting in this world. So that is out of question. And therefore, as we act in this world, and without knowing, because of the ignorance of not knowing how to act in this world, we create this huge pile across lifetimes of these seeds of seeds that will eventually fructify. And because of such actions, these seeds are formed, and Krishna provides us with these fruits of these reactions from time to time. Because we deserve it. This is the actions that we have performed, and therefore we have to face the consequences of such an action. But it is not without any reason. The reason why Krishna gives such a reaction is so that he can somehow bring us back to this mentality of not enjoying. That is why we are here, right? We are here to try to enjoy for ourselves. And these reactions are given so that at some point we can figure out, oh, actually, this enjoying separate from Krishna is not going to give me any happiness. This is very slow though. This mechanism takes millions and millions of lifetimes. This is the problem. It has its effect, but it takes a really long time. This is called impressions in the heart. This is called vasanas. All of us carry these across lifetimes. So therefore, when we do something, when I put my hand in fire and it burns, next time subconsciously I try not to do it. But unfortunately, our tendency to enjoy is practically infinite. We try to say, oh, I've done this, that didn't give me happiness. Let me try to do this. And then Krishna has to give something to say, oh, that is not going to give you happiness. And then we try this and we try this. And you cannot fault Krishna for not giving us options. He has given us 8,400,000 ways in which we can try to enjoy in this world. Right? We cannot say, Krishna, you didn't give me options. And even within that species, we have ridiculous number of ways in which we can try to enjoy in this world. And this process of karma takes place very, very slowly, but it does have an effect in this world. And at some point, such a jiva tries to say, oh, let me stop and back off. And think, why am I doing what I'm doing? This is very rare, but we do come to this point if things go properly in the yoga ladder. There are so many ways in which we can come down, but if we are doing things right, then we'll come to this point to say, oh, I'm trying to enjoy, but it's not really giving me enjoyment. So what should I actually do? This is the place where the Vedanta says actual human life begins. Atato Brahma Jignasa, where one starts to inquire about the absolute. Before that, we're trying to enjoy for ourselves. We're not really instinctively going like animals, trying to enjoy our senses. At some point, we try to back off and say, who am I? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I here in the first place? What is this place? Things like that. And slowly, if we succeed in the entire yoga ladder, we come to this point of devotional service. But till that point where we come to the point of devotional service, our reaction to the suffering that we get is what? How do people see suffering in this world? Who do they blame? The first instance, God. Right? They don't think of the reasons why they're suffering. Instead, they're saying, oh, the main reason why I'm suffering is because God is cruel. He's not all merciful. They say He's all merciful, but I'm suffering so much. Then we start blaming others also, right? It's not just God. Oh, it is because of that person I'm suffering. It is because of this person I'm suffering. Or the circumstances. Oh, I was put into such a bad circumstance that I'm suffering. We try to do everything possible other than take responsibility for ourselves for our own suffering. We try to blame God, we try to blame others, we try to blame the circumstance, but we never try to put the blame on us, right? Oh, it was actually my own doing that has put me in such a circumstance, which is very, very rare. But when we come to the point of devotional service, we actually understand why we are in such a position. It is not because Krishna is cruel. Everybody is here to get us. Or the circumstances here are so horrible only for us. This is the nature of this world. Krishna says this is dukhalem and ashashvatam. How are you going to find happiness in this world? This is a place of misery. Krishna says it very clearly. And then our expectations are that we're going to have such amazing time here. It's not going to happen. This is the nature of this place. Therefore, a devotee's mindset is that he's thinking, oh Krishna, it is not because of you that I am suffering. It is because of my own actions that I am suffering. And in fact, he goes a step further and Prabhupada says this should be the attitude of a devotee. This verse should be the attitude of a devotee. And a devotee thinks, Krishna, I should have suffered so much more. Actually, I should have gone to the hellish planets. That's how much I should have suffered. And yet you're so kind. You're so kind that you've reduced my suffering and given me very little of suffering that I actually deserve. This is how a devotee thinks. And through that suffering, he doesn't blame God. He doesn't blame the circumstances. He doesn't blame other people. He is constantly thinking about the Lord. He's paying obeisance to the Lord. And then he's with his heart, mind, and words. And when a devotee goes through life like this, without blaming anybody, going through the suffering, depending on the Lord, and serving the Lord with great devotion, then the result of such a life is that the doors to the kingdom of the Lord are guaranteed for such a person. The purport starts with saying, for a son to inherit the fortune of the father, all he needs to do is stay alive. Right? If he stays alive, he's going to get it. So all we have to do is just stay alive in Krishna consciousness, the purport said. This is all we have to do. Okay, there will be so many problems because that's the nature of the world. This is what we have signed up for. But if we go through it with the proper consciousness and dependence on Krishna, and we survive it, then the kingdom of God is open for us. This is our rightful inheritance. Sadhaya Bhak is our rightful inheritance for such a person. And going back to the karma itself, you have the sanchita karma, right? The big pile of seeds that are there. And then you have from those seeds that are going to fructify, called the prarabdha karma, which is what all of us are enjoying or suffering based on what we have done in the past. In our current lives, anything that we are enjoying or suffering are the seeds that are fructified from the past. And then through the actions that we'll do, we'll create more seeds, right? This is why it's a vicious cycle. If we don't stop it, this is an endless loop. But when we take up devotional service, when we take up bhakti and surrender to Krishna, this is the key. This is the verse that is being quoted in the purport. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyo. This is what Krishna is saying. Mokshayishyami ma shucha. Do not fear. You abandon every form of religion in terms of karma, dhyana, jnana, all these things that we've been trying for many, many lifetimes. We leave all of that and surrender to Krishna. And then Krishna says, I'll take care of all your sins. Do not worry. So all these big pile of seeds that we have, which is practically unimaginable. Think about it. Millions of lifetimes, every single second we're creating these seeds. That is burnt away. Burnt seeds cannot fructify. Right? You take a nice seed and then burn it and then try to plant it. Yeah, it's not going to work. It won't fructify. It won't become a plant. So Krishna does that for us. He says, when you surrender to me, I will do that for you. And my spiritual master says, at the time of initiation, the ropes of karma move from the black witch to the white witch. When we are here in this material world and when we don't surrender to Krishna, all our karmic footprint is taken care of automatically by the external energy of the Lord. What you do, this is what you get. It's a complicated system, but Krishna doesn't interfere with it. He has put in a system and the system takes over. But when we surrender to the Lord, that is switched to the internal energy of the Lord. It is switched to Srimati Radharani at the point of surrender to the Lord. And everything that a devotee experiences after they sincerely surrender to the Lord directly has the hand of the Lord. The Lord is trying everything so that we remove the last vestiges of material enjoyment in the heart. Because if we have to go to Krishna, we have to be completely pure. We cannot approach Krishna without being completely pure. So at that point, so to speak, technically, it is not that we are still facing the reactions of our karmic reactions. But Krishna is giving us such a punishment, so to speak, like a father would to his son. Vishwanath Chakravarti says this is like a father who gives sometimes milk to his son and sometimes neem water, neem juice. It's really bitter, right? But the neem juice gives you a nice appetite. So it might seem very bitter, but then it is for your own good. It is not for you to suffer. So Krishna gives these instances in our life where we might have to go through suffering, but he is giving us so that he can remove these vestiges of material enjoyment that we have in our hearts. This is the reason why devotees go through suffering. When we go through it and we still depend on the Lord, it brings an incredible transformation in the heart of the devotee. The side effect is that the anartha or some material enjoyment that we have in our heart is purified. But the best benefit that we get when we go through it is our relationship with Krishna deepens. This is the key for a devotee. That we start to understand how Krishna acts in our life. We see all these incredible devotees in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam deepen their relationship with Krishna through suffering. Here, even Lord Brahma, his relationship with the Lord has completely transformed. Queen Kunti, in fact, is an exception where she says, give me more suffering, Krishna. Because every time there was suffering, you were personally present. This is how the devotee's relationship with Krishna changes. Initially, we're trying to fight it, duck our miseries. I remember a few years back, we were going through something very difficult. And then after that few years, we called Nityan Prabhu for something else. And then during the course of our conversation, he was saying, don't try to duck miseries. Don't try to duck miseries, right? It is going to come to you. If you take it with the proper consciousness, like how a devotee goes through, then it actually has a transformational effect in your heart. Because for a devotee, He doesn't think of happiness and distress in this world, right? This is Sthitadhir Muni. Krishna speaks of such a person in the Bhagavad Gita. Because when going through happiness or distress, he doesn't really think of how can I somehow mitigate this misery, or how can I enjoy this happiness that I have in my life. He says, okay, happiness and misery come of its own accord in this world. My purpose in this life is to perform devotional service. So this is the point, is that when we are trying to go through suffering in this world with the proper consciousness, then, okay, I have to preface this. Everything that I am saying is from the perspective of the person undergoing suffering. Okay? This should not be taken as a license to inflict suffering on others. Right? Because karma can be taken as a very cruel thing and say, oh, this person is going to suffer anyway. This is because of the reactions of such a person. Why will we be compassionate? Like, we can become very hard-hearted if we take this to the extreme. I'm speaking about the perspective of, this is the perspective of Lord Brahma, right? I'm speaking about the person who is undergoing such a suffering. So we should take it from that perspective. I should have said it right in the beginning. But everything that I'm saying is from the perspective of the person who's undergoing the suffering. Because you see, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, right in the beginning, an incredible example of somebody who's undergoing great suffering. This is the bull, Dharma. He is only one leg, standing on one leg. 3 legs have been broken. And somebody is really abusing such a person. And then the right thing for a king to do is stop it. He's stopping it and saying, who is the cause of your suffering? Right? He stopped the Kali Purusha and asks the Dharma, the personification of religion, in the form of a bull. He asks, who is the cause of your suffering? And what is this answer? Yeah, it is my own doing. I cannot pinpoint the reason for my suffering. Although it was really obvious right in front of him that this person was hitting him and abusing him. And yet, his answer was, it is not really this person. It might be the deliverer of my suffering, but the cause of such a suffering is really me. It is my own actions that is causing me to suffer. And Prabhupada gives, this is not a purport by Prabhupada, but Prabhupada speaks about this verse, Tattenu Kampam Sushamikshamano, so many times. And one of my favorite purports to where he's speaking about Tattenu Kampa is in the 6th canto. 6th canto in the section of Maharaj Chitraketu. He's flying in the air and he's speaking about Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva, and then Mother Parvati is upset about what he speaks and then curses him to be a demon, right? And then after this, Chitraketu speaks to Mother Parvati, and he says, my dear mother, with my own hands folded together, I accept the curse upon me. I do not mind the curse, for happiness and distress are given by demigods as a result of one's past deeds. This is his thinking. But okay, you've cursed me, but I accept it. I'm not going to try to fight it. The same thing Parikshit Maharaj could have done. Parikshit Maharaj could have tried to fight the curse of the Brahmana boy. He didn't try to do it. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, since Chitraketu was a devotee of the Lord, he was not at all disturbed by the curse of Mother Parvati. He knew very well that one suffers or enjoys the results of one's past deeds as ordained by Deva Netra, superior authority. Prabhupada often quotes this, Karmana Deva Netrena, that the karma that we undergo is ordained by a higher authority, or the agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knew that he had not committed an offense at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva or the goddess Parvati, yet he had been punished, and this meant that the punishment had been ordained. In his heart he knew, this is even more difficult, right? If you knew that you had committed some mistake, it's easier to at least undergo the reactions for whatever you have done. But in his heart, and Prabhupada also says in the following purpose that it was not really his fault. So he said it was directly ordained by the Lord. Thus the king did not mind it. A devotee is naturally so humble and meek that he accepts any condition of life as a blessing from the Lord. Tattenu kampa sushamiksha mana. Prabhupada quotes this. A devotee always accepts punishment from anyone as the mercy of the Lord. If one lives in this conception of life, he sees whatever reverses occur to be due to his past misdeeds. And therefore, he never accuses anyone. On the contrary, he becomes increasingly attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of his being purified by his suffering. Suffering, therefore, is also a process of purification. It's incredible, isn't it? Through suffering, if you are not attached to the Lord, you're going to get more suffering. Because this is the cycle that I was speaking about. When you perform some activity that is not proper, you have seeds that are going to have reactions for an improper activity, right? And through that, you experience the seeds of an improper activity. And then your mentality for that improper activity actually increases. Your inclination to perform such an activity increases. For example, if a robber goes and robs somebody, he's done something improper. And he knows he's done something improper, right? And the seeds of the actions are going to come about. And then he's going to experience it. And yet, his inclination to rob only increases. This is why this cycle is very vicious. It's very difficult to get out of these modes that we are actually associated with. And yet, when a similar thing is going through the life of a devotee, when we are trying to suffer, not trying to suffer, when we are suffering because of our past actions, Prabhupada writes something amazing. On the contrary, he becomes increasingly attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Can you imagine? You're suffering and yet your attachment to the Lord increases. Why is this happening? Because we are getting purified. Through our suffering, we are getting purified. Therefore, he says, this is also a process of purification. So he continues. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this connection that one who has developed Krishna consciousness and who exists in love with Krishna is no longer subject to suffering and happiness under the laws of karma. Indeed, he is beyond karma. Brahma Samhita says, Karmani nirdahati kintucha bhakti bhajam. A devotee is free from the reactions of his karma because he has taken to devotional service. This same principle is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Sagunan samati tetyan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who is engaged in devotional service has already been freed from the reactions of his material karma, and thus he immediately becomes Brahma Bhuta or transcendental. This is also expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Kshiyante chasya karmani. Before attaining the stage of love, one becomes free from all the results of karma. The Lord is very kind and very affectionate toward his devotee, and therefore a devotee in any condition is not subjected to the results of karma. A devotee never aspires for the heavenly planets. The heavenly planets, liberation and hell are non-different for a devotee, for he does not discriminate between different positions in the material world. A devotee is always eager to return home back to Godhead and remain there as the Lord's associate. This ambition becomes increasingly fervent in his heart, and therefore he does not care about material exchanges in his life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Maharaj Chitraketu's being cursed by Parvati should be considered the mercy of the Lord. The Lord wanted Chitraketu to return to Godhead as soon as possible, and therefore he terminated all the reactions of his past deeds. Acting through the heart of Parvati, the Lord who is situated in everyone's heart cursed Chitraketu in order to end all his material reactions. Thus Chitraketu became Vritrasura in his next life and returned home back to Godhead. So Krishna personally intervenes in the life of a devotee, just like how he intervened in the life of Maharaj Chitraketu. The minute we surrender to the Lord, when we say, Krishna, I am yours, Krishna takes control of our life. And everything that happens in the life of a devotee has the direct hand of Krishna. This is how we should look through our lives, go through our lives. And when we go through our lives in such a fashion, and despite our reverses in life, we try to perform devotional service, then the kingdom of God is our rightful inheritance. Nobody can stop that. So we are at 8:20. I think the last thing I wanted to say was this prayer that how we can pray to the Lord. When Haldar Maharaj was here a couple of years back, he mentioned this prayer. This is the prayer from Maharaj Prithu. This is also there, I think, in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He says for this particular verse. And he says this is when Krishna personally appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. This is how he prayed to the Lord. When Krishna was asking him, what do you want? He says, my Lord, due to your illusory energy, All living beings in this material world have forgotten their real constitutional position. And out of ignorance, they are always desirous of material happiness in the form of society, friendship, and love. Therefore, please do not ask me to take some material benefits from you. But as a father, not waiting for the son's demand, does everything for the benefit of the son, please bestow upon me whatever you think best for me. Amazing, right? Please bestow upon me whatever you think best for me. This was Maharaj Prithu's prayer to Krishna when he came to his sacrificial arena. So we can open it up for discussion and see if there are any, yes, Mother Anuradha, comments or reflections.
Hi Krishna Prabhu, thank you. As you're mentioning about how, how the bull said it's karma, I was hearing Srila Prabhupada and he says how Yudhishthir Maharaj got to know that Parikshit will die sooner and didn't act upon when the Brahmanas predicted, and he was more interested what will be his qualities, so that while he is living, it should be worthy and not so much worried about his leaving. So even if Parikshit Maharaj, Yudhishthir Maharaj, they were Kshatriyas and not like sannyasi, or it's still the emphasis was on the spiritual and the dharma, not so much on the body. He didn't run to hospital, get the best doctors and see how this baby can be, live for long or whatever. So Prabhupada says this is how one devotee should be. So I was thinking, well, you're so fortunate, you got the best, I would say the best verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's a life and soul for the devotee. Like we put into trouble almost every day, and to get back to devotional service, get back to life. This is such a hope. So thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. Nanda Braja Prabhu here. Then Tulsi Saki Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank
I'm
you.
very convinced now that my punishment is only because of my faults and that it's Krishna's mercy. No, really, it's a great perspective, and you clarified it so nicely. I have a question.
Yes.
So this Sunday we heard from Amarinda Prabhu about Jatayu.
Jatayu.
This devotee who ran into suffering, knowing he's going to lose,
Yes.
no chance to win, and he was like, I'm going to do this, knowing that Lord Ram even asked him this to help no matter what. And I was pretty amazed hearing of how somebody knowing that they can't win, that it's impossible, would still, run into this situation. So I was mentioning it to a friend, and they said, yeah, like Arjuna heard from Krishna, like you already won. But then I was thinking, like that, like, okay, I'm going to win. So but then I was thinking even Arjuna knew very clearly that there's, even in his winning, there's so much suffering. So I'm convinced that in our conditioned state, that suffering is happening because of our purification. But we have these examples of pure devotees who I am fairly convinced that they're living in bliss, but yet they're showing so much suffering. Can you explain how bliss and suffering can apparently live together in the pure devotee?
Wow. So this example that you were quoting, actually this is our philosophy, is that we don't want to see Krishna. We want to always ask, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? And in that separation, there is incredible pain. Right? This is viraha. The Goswamis, the Ashad Goswami Ashtaka doesn't say, I saw Krishna. It says, He Radhe Vraja Devi Ke Chalalite, He Nanda Suno Kuta. This is how the Goswamis, although personally Radharani was serving them. When Raghunath Das Goswami was meditating in Radhakund, Radharani was personally bringing her sari and trying to cover him up because he was in such hot weather. So although they were in direct touch with the Lord, their mentality was, oh, where is Krishna? Where is Srimati Radharani? Are they in the foothills of Govardhan? And because of this separation, they felt great anxiety. Right? We see the Vrajavasis, that when Krishna left Vrindavan, they were in incredible pain. You see, when Uddhava came, he couldn't bear it. He went back to Krishna and said, Krishna, what have you done? This was the state externally of the Vrajavasis. Right? When the example of Ramayana that you gave, the total time of apparent manifest happiness between Lord Ram and Sita was very minuscule. They were there for 12 years or something, married, and then they had to go to the forest. For 1 year they were separated, came back again, they were separated for a ridiculously long time, because Lord Ram had to send Mother Sita back to the forest. So it might externally seem that it is really, really painful, but it is internally blissful, because they are under the shelter of the internal potency of the Lord, which is naturally blissful. This is the quality of the internal potency of the Lord. The external potency of the Lord is dukhalayam. Right? It is very, very painful. And yet when we are in touch with the internal potency of the Lord, although externally it might look like suffering, it might look like we are losing, it is an incredible victory. I'll give you the example of Chitraketu Maharaj himself that we were speaking of. Chitraketu Maharaj in his next life was Vritrasura. And in his battle with King Indra, he lost. Right? He didn't win the battle. He was killed in the battle. And yet, what was his destination? Spiritual world. He went back home, back to Godhead. So externally it might seem like he lost the battle. What was the purpose? He really didn't win anything. But what he won was incomparable, immeasurable. That he got the association of the Lord in the spiritual world. So this is what it is, that when we are trying to somehow practice devotional service through our suffering, although externally it might seem like a loss to people, it's not a win. This person is undergoing so much. Prabhupada in this purport says it increases the attachment with the Lord. That's how you gain actual happiness. When that attachment with the Lord is increasing, this external suffering doesn't really affect us. What we're experiencing is something far greater than the suffering that we can actually undergo. So that way, this suffering doesn't really affect such a devotee. You have to long press it.
I appreciate this point that I was thinking the internal potency in emotions and feelings is something we can't kind of understand. We're experiencing motions from the external, and so then it conflicts, right? You feel bad or sad. How can that feel good? But in the internal potency, these feelings are completely different.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, I guess this can be true a little bit from our perspective in a sense of, at least you get to feel, some people are addicted to even pain and suffering and stuff because at least they're feeling.
Yes.
The real death is like that depression that you don't feel nothing and you're empty.
Yeah.
And that's the what will cause somebody to commit suicide even, is that they just no longer even feel anything. So
I want to add to that point. Actually, I wanted to mention in the class. It was a really nice point, because we've been in this material for such a long time. Prabhupada gives this example of a camel eating a cactus plant. Right? The camel is eating the cactus plant and it is poking its tongue and it's bleeding. And it is tasting its own blood and thinking it's so tasty. When we are oblivious to the path of devotional service, we are in this material world and we think the suffering is actually an enjoyment. Because it's actual suffering, but we think it's so tasty. Somehow we are conditioned like that. But when we try to practice devotional service, we start to see things for what they are. So we might actually experience suffering at that point, and it might become a little, intense. Like, wow, I was oblivious to all of this, and suddenly it's becoming too much to me. When we actually start practicing devotional service. So that can become intense, but the advantage that we have is we always have Krishna to fall back upon. He doesn't administer us so much that it will completely break us. He administers only little by little so that it can somehow push us forward. Yes, Mataji. You had something else? Probably come back. You had something else you were going to say. I stopped. No? Okay.
Thank you so much for a great class, Prabhuji. I was just wondering, like sometimes when we come in front of the deities, this very rare times this feeling comes that thank you, Krishna, you're being more merciful to me and giving me so many, things. Where I could have been, you could have given me suffering because that's what I deserve. I mean, I don't think like I should have been a hellish planet and all, but that nanosecond or that feeling comes and you feel so much compassion for the Lord. So much grateful towards the Lord, and that lasts for some time, and then you also understand you're more generous towards devotees, and like that goes on. But so my question is that how can that consciousness of I am suffering because of my own past karma, and I am in a wonderful position right now because Krishna has given me so much, how can that prevail at all times? I know it's we always go up and down because it's supposed to be like that also, so that the purification keeps happening, and when it hits you when it is the right time. But still, it would really help if my consciousness is mostly like that, so that I can be serving in the right mode, or I can exist in my relationships in the right mode.
Yeah. What you're saying is actually very useful in terms of Krishna gives us these experiences, right? We say Adav Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Anartha Nivriti, but this is not like a linear scale. My spiritual master says it's like a bell curve. At some point in our progress of devotional service, we might be in, say, Anartha Nivriti. That might be the middle of the bell curve, right? Or Nishtha, that could be in the middle of the bell curve. But Krishna still sprinkles other aspects. Sometimes we might feel like tears coming down, which is actually the symptom of bhava. We might not be in that stage, right? We might have these emotional experiences that when we serve the Lord we get, although we might not be in that stage. Krishna gives us these experiences so that we can remember them, right? We should cherish such experiences that you have, where we feel when we are serving, oh Krishna, this is so incredible. I'm so grateful to you for this moment. And that moment we should carry in our hearts. We should not forget such a moment. And when we actually are in a position where we are not feeling such things, we can remember this moment. Say, Krishna, you've given me this. Okay. So I know for a fact that if I continue doing this, I'll have more of such experiences. And Krishna does give us, right, throughout our practice of so many moments that we can think of where we felt extremely happy in the process of devotional service. It could be like a fleeting moment, but that completely fulfills us, right? Such a moment. So remembering these moments are really important, and that is what will help us in moments where we don't feel these gratefulness, gratitude to the Lord, and say, Krishna, why are you doing this, and things like that. And then say, okay, at that point I really didn't deserve it and still you gave it to me. So I'll try to go through this with the right intention. And then when we try to do this as a practice, our intelligence automatically kicks in. We don't try to fight it, right? Naturally, we try to become grateful to the Lord in irrespective of what circumstances we are in. But these moments that we get, we should cherish it. We should completely try to meditate on it, like not let it leave. This is something that Krishna has personally given us, right? So, yeah. She has something to.
That was a very sublime thing to know. And basically, sometimes we try to chase that moment again, recreate that. But now I understand, no, Krishna gave you that moment. It was not my own doing. It was not like, I did served in a certain manner and it happened. But I think Krishna gave that moment, and we can always beg for that mercy.
Most of the time it happens when you don't try, right?
Yeah.
When I'm trying really hard for it, it doesn't happen. But when I'm natural, when I'm trying to get something, it doesn't happen. But I'm saying, Krishna, I'm going to keep serving. I'm not expecting anything. And when that mindset happens, then it descends.
And mostly it happens when you're really suffering, like Krishna is like, okay, let me now
don't worry,
give you that taste. Whatever. But
I always remember this pastime from Prahlad Maharaj where he's pushed from the hill, right? Yeah. Krishna caught him, but he could have caught him at any place. Right when he was pushed, he could have caught him. In the middle, he could have caught him. He catches him all the way when he goes to the bottom. It's like, why? Like, you were going to catch me, you could have caught me at any point of time, right? And yet, Krishna waits for that moment and catches him. So it builds the faith in the devotee, right? Krishna, it's going to happen. It doesn't matter when it's going to happen. It can either be right in the beginning of the cliff, or in the middle of the cliff, or at the bottom of the cliff. But you're going to catch me. That faith starts developing over time. First time when we undergo suffering, it's like we are really upset with Krishna, which is fine, because we're trying to have a relationship with the Lord, right? It's fine. Krishna, why did you do this to me? We have the right to ask him. And as we mature in our practice of devotional service, we figure out, oh, last time that happened, you did this to me. Now this time it's happening, I know you will figure things out. And at some point in our relationship with the Lord, we'll exactly know what Krishna will do. Right? Just like in any relationship, as we deepen our relationship, we know what the person will do without even speaking to that person. Just with our eyes, we can understand what the other person is saying. So as we deepen our relationship with the Lord, we'll know exactly how Krishna will act. So it'll happen. But those moments are very cherished.
Yeah, and that's why I think when that suffering time comes, somewhere in the back of my head is like, oh wow, now I will connect more to Krishna.
Yes.
that it doesn't come always. It's just like
Yes.
0.01% it
Yes.
comes that, okay, I have always something to look forward to, and that
Yes.
is I can always go and talk to Krishna, and that
Yeah.
can strengthen the faith, and the relationship.
Actually, it's amazing if you can actually think of it when you're suffering. When the suffering is happening and say, okay, this is actually going to take me closer to Krishna. When you can think of it when you're suffering, it means you're pretty advanced. Usually how it happens is we go through it, we kick and scream, and then when we look back at it, we see, oh Krishna, thank you for it. That's how it usually happens. But then over time, we come to this point and saying, okay, this is happening, okay, let me go through it, but I know something good is going to come out of it. That is actually pretty advanced, what you're saying.
Just very quickly, the nectar of devotion. That treatment is to invoke your dormant love for God. That is the treatment. We have got love for God. We want to love somebody, either man or woman, even animals. You'll find between the two dogs, there is love. Sometimes the mother dog is pretending to bite the cub, but it actually is not biting.
This is from the nectar of devotion. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Mother Tulsi said.
Love bite.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a very nice class. I'm trying to inquire submissively, but I have like a conviction in my mind. So you were mentioning this cycle,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The more we suffer, the more we depend, and more our faith increases. To enter this cycle.
No. That's not the cycle I meant. That cycle was the general cycle of how karma works. Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm trying to, the case I'm trying to make
Yes.
is that there has to be some taste
Yes.
that precedes our faith.
Hmm.
And that taste can come from mercy of Guru, from being touched. But without that little bit of faith, when we are tested, we're not.
Yes.
It has to be there. It has to precede that. And I'm just, you're saying yes already, but I was ready to make all my cases. But even if the gopis are saying, where is Krishna? They've had that taste.
That is true.
That this is how it feels like to be with Krishna.
Yes.
So it's that increasing cycle, but it starts with first taste, and then if you
100%. 100%. The cycle that I was saying, Kuta, Bija, Aprarabdha and Prarabdha was general karmic cycle of how things work. We have this inclination to perform sinful activities. We perform sinful activities. Seeds get created. We get the fruits of such seeds. And because we are undergoing, that inclination increases. So that's the cycle I was mentioning. But how many of us, when we started Krishna consciousness, felt it was so easy to perform devotional service, and then it gets difficult and difficult and difficult? This is the days that Krishna gives. The wind just blows. The sail just carries us away in the beginning of practice of devotional service, because we're simple, we've not committed any offenses, and we get this incredible taste, right? All of us in some ways are trying to go to that place where, it was so amazing when I started Krishna consciousness. Everything was amazing. I didn't see any faults in anybody. Like everything in this process was incredible. And we get that taste. And Krishna gives us that taste. And then, like through our actions, we mangle it a little bit. And Krishna says, okay, now your faith is okay. Now let me start purifying you. Now, then we can grow up in our Krishna consciousness. Jashna?
You mentioned it right there. That is it taste or faith? Isn't it faith that keeps us going? Not really taste.
So what keeps, so for faith to develop, you have to have some taste, right? For you to come back. So this is how our spiritual master explains is, Adav Shraddha means you have a little bit of faith, and then you say you're coming to a place and say, I'm going to come and listen to this class, and then if it's nice, I'll come back. If it's not nice, I'm not going to come back. That little faith is what starts it, right? But then for us to sustain, we come back and say, oh, this place is looking pretty nice. I would like to hang out with these people. That's when Sadhu Sangha begins, right? But everything starts with that little faith. But then without getting that taste, say, hey, I like it. Then how are we going to continue? Like it cannot just be based on faith in the beginning. There needs to be some taste that you get that attracts you to it. And then as you come back, your faith increases. As you come back, your faith increases. That faith starts developing. That's how I see it. Without, it cannot be like really dry. Just by faith in the beginning, without any taste, it can't really function.
Just what a wonderful class and discussion. Just a few quick comments. Krishna Maharaj was giving a lecture, and at some point he was talking about how devotees, when there's difficulties and problems, sometimes become negative. And he was making the point that these difficulties, problems are an opportunity for us to surrender more to Krishna, actually. Yes. That, you can go both ways.
Yes.
And I thought it was just so in line with the class. And then I was thinking about, the suffering, when we experience that suffering, and then when that mercy comes, the relief that you feel from that suffering is because, if you weren't suffering and then the mercy came, then it's like, okay. But when you're desperate,
yes,
and then someone gives you water, right? So I was just, anyway, beautiful class, wonderful meditation on, how to try and see more and more that the suffering that we come is the mercy of Krishna, and to bring us closer. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you. I think Prabhupada, Priya Mataji, we are...
Bring the pot.
Hare Krishna. So
Hare
I have a
Krishna.
comment and a question.
Yes.
My comment is in relation to what you were saying about Maharaj Chitraketu. I thought it was a really nice point how that if we do something wrong and then we suffer, then we might think that's our karma, right? I did something, I deserve it. But our tendency is that if we don't do anything wrong and we still suffer, like there's some injustice, right? Like somebody's punishing me for something that I didn't do.
Yes.
Then we suffer more, right? The tendency is that we're going to suffer more because we're like, that's so unfair. Like if I did the thing wrong, okay, I could own up to that, I could take it, but I'm being falsely accused and this is like terrible. But actually it's the other way around. We should be more happy as devotees because you're saying that in Chitraketu's case, he didn't actually do anything wrong, right? He had no bad intention. He didn't have any critical, offensive thought in his mind.
Yes.
But he was accused of being offender. So then, if we didn't do something wrong and we're still getting punished, then that means it's just Krishna.
Yes.
It's just Krishna.
Yep.
It's like 100%. There's no other reason for it. So then we should be happy that, okay, Krishna's taking care of me. Krishna's teaching me a lesson. This is fantastic. Wow. It can't be my karma. It's got to be Krishna.
Yes.
So Jai Krishna.
Actually, it's incredible, right? When you think of it like that, is that Krishna is personally interested in you. Yeah. Can you imagine? The Supreme Personality of Godhead is really interested in this person's life who is actually so insignificant and yet is trying to somehow bring them back. Yes.
So I thought we can change our perspective on ways in which we feel like we're victims of injustice. Okay, then my question was, because you mentioned in the very beginning about Atma Kritam, that we should think that this is due to my own doing, right? That I have done this. But then I thought, well, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that kartaham iti manyate. If we think that I am the karta, right?
Yes.
So in this verse, it's saying that we should
Yes.
think that I did it. It's
Yes.
because of my doing. But then Bhagavad Gita says, but if you think that you are the doer,
Hmm.
if you think that you've done it and that's why things are happening, then karta ahankara vimudatma, you're a fool.
Yeah.
So then it's two different things, right? So how do you resolve that contradiction?
Wow.
On the one hand, we should think we're the doer, and on the other hand, if we think we're the doer, we're foolish.
Yeah, I think my understanding of the Gita verse is if a person thinks he's the only doer, it is because of me and only me that it has happened. Like most people think of it like that, right? We don't consider the other factors that could actually have to fall in place for me to do something. I mean, for if I make pasta, we say I made the pasta, right? That mentality where we think that it is only me who was involved in making this pasta. And yet, if you think about all the other factors that had to be in place for you to make that pasta, somebody had to put the, grain, bring it to the supermarket, somebody had to produce the pasta, somebody had to, like so many things had to go right for you to make the pasta. My understanding of the verse in the Bhagavad Gita is to think that I am the only doer. Then that's ahankara vimudatma, kartaham iti manyate, like everything is being done by me. But we understand that we are one of the major contributing factors, and it's up to Krishna whether he allows it or not. Right? In the 18th chapter, he gives 5 factors that go into any action to be successful. But the desire is mine. That's what this verse thinks. Atma kritam means nobody forced me to do something. The results of the actions that I am undergoing are not because somebody forced those actions on me. It was my own doing. Like I desired for it. And because of my various karmic credits or discredits, I was allowed to do such an activity. So that's my understanding, reconciliation. Is that okay?
Yeah, it just seems like if there's so many factors playing into me doing something, then, but afterwards I have to accept total responsibility for the reaction.
The reason for why we have to accept total responsibility is that action was initiated by us. The desire was ours. Then everything comes together, whether we are eligible for such a desire or not. It depends on our karmic bank, so to speak, that we have. I can desire to be a billionaire. Whether it happens or not depends on what my karma is. But the desire is mine, right? That is what is propelling everything. Our actions, every action, karma is activity, right? Every activity that we perform initially is propelled by my desire. That is why I am most responsible. Nobody else is responsible. The rest of it is the place of action, and then Krishna as a super soul is permitting. None of them are actively involved in that desire. They're just figuring out whether you go to the bank and say, give me so much, but the bank teller will tell you, oh, your account only has so much. But the account teller is not responsible for what you have in the bank, right? You are responsible for what you put in your account. So that's why.
So the only reason those other factors of action kicked in is because of my desire. Otherwise, they would have done something else.
Yeah, or else it would never, right? Because I acted, then I have this karmic load, and I'm getting the fruits of such an action. And because of I'm getting more of those seeds being deposited. And everything is starting from my action, my desire to act.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 8:49. Okay, last 1 minute. Can you say your name?
Thank you for the nice class, Prabhu.
Kritika.